Hello everyone, this is Borna Kazerani from Melbourne, Australia. I hope you're doing fine. First of all, thank you so much for all your lovely comments and messages regarding all my previous episodes here on my live show. I really appreciate it. Tonight, I'm going to have a conversation with Tim Jones, who was born in London, England in 1975. Tim is a self-taught painter and has been painting and exhibiting for over 15 years and has combined his art career with time working on board yachts. Tim is a painter specializing in contemporary and abstract works. His bold style blends color and form in expressive, purposefully way that invites a certain reflection from the viewer. Bold movements and subtle hues complement each other in these works that explore feelings and emotion. Essentially, he started by painting murals and street art mainly when traveling and became more of a serious abstract expressions when he moved to Australia. His art enjoys high-profile placements, including the Hilton Hotel in Brisbane and commissions for Bristol City Council in UK. Now, let me ask Tim to join me for a conversation. Tim!
There you are, mate. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being here today with me. And before I'm going to start my question, do you want to say hi to those who are watching us right now and maybe later?
Yeah, absolutely. G'day, everyone. Nice to be here. Really happy to be here with you, Borna. Been looking forward to this.
I feel likewise. So, as soon as I mentioned that I'm going to have a conversation with you, I've gotten lots of questions, and I've got my own questions. So, hopefully, we get a chance to go through all questions I got about that. But let's see. All right. So,
okay.
when I came across your page on Instagram, the first things that it drew my attention to your work was the feeling of peace and a very subtle sense of your words. I get a sense of lightness and peacefulness from all your work. Almost in all your paintings, I can see a dance of waves, and I think that's very close to your inner character. So, talk to me about that.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, Borna. I've been in and around the ocean for a really long time, you know. Not so much when I was younger. I was born just outside London, so I didn't get to go in the water too much. But then I started traveling and, you know, I just spent most of my life in the ocean. So I was a dive master for a long time. And then, yeah, I worked on yachts for about 10 years. So I would make it my goal to just go and see any sort of certain animal, like a whale shark or a manta ray or whatever, and go and just find it, you know, and that was my goal. And I was lucky enough to be able to do that most of my 20s and into my 30s, actually. So, yeah, it's been a journey. And you're right. You can see in the paintings that there is this wave-like form. It's almost like a recurring dream, maybe, you know, and it resurfaces. So I won't necessarily work off a reference or anything like that. It will just come up. And I guess as an artist, that's what we do, right? It's a collection of every experience you've ever had, and you're pouring that out. So it just seems to surface on its own. So yeah, absolutely. There's a big reference to the ocean.
Is that very close to your character also? Because I feel probably you're quite like, you're adventurous as what I'm understanding right now. So that's why you traveled a lot. So you've been on board and you've been yachts for years. So, but something that's close to your character, or is it completely different? Because I feel it comes from you, you know, and it's not it's not the kind of style that other painters probably choose to do it. And you know, you've done 100 of I've mentioned dance on waves. So
yeah, I guess so. Like they are. That is me. I mean, you know, my wife and I, we basically just always want to be by the ocean. You know, it's actually a little bit less so now. We've got a young daughter and we live in the city, so not as close as I would like to be. But yeah, for a lot of my life, maybe 20 years, I've been, yeah, completely around the ocean, and it's very important to me.
Of course, of course. Okay, I know I'm killing you. So can you please sit a little bit? Just be back.
Further back.
Yeah, a little bit. Thank you. Or, all right, it's better now. Okay. So, now I want to take you back 2 years ago. The moment that you thought you want to be a painter, and in the future, which is today. I want you to talk to me about the moment where it started. What happened? What inspired you? This is the common question I ask every single guest who I have on the show. So talk to me. Tell me why painting.
Well, I mean, I didn't go to art school, but I went to college or high school essentially and studied there, and I did really well at it. But like everybody, you kind of go into something else, right? You know, you're told to do something else really, and you kind of followed that. And then it just kept resurfacing and resurfacing, and it never went away. And so I think I meandered through a bit of a journey, you know, not really knowing what to paint or how to paint, and learning that just with time in the game, really. And then after that, you know, I think the move to Australia really was the big moment where I said, okay, let's give this a serious go. You know, I'd painted, but it wasn't really of any sort of importance or really of any scale. And then when I was there, I had a bit of space, I had a bit of time, and it started to unfold. And that was, 2001, 2002. So we're talking 18 years ago. And that was a big move, you know, that's when it changed. And then I think your confidence builds on that, and it's just never gone away. And I have done a lot of other jobs or a lot of other things to really make ends meet and to have a career essentially in yachting. But it's never gone away. It just doesn't go away because I think it's intrinsic to who you are. You know, when you paint, there's some days it's not so easy, but a lot of the time it is easy. I feel like every day, you know, the day goes so fast, and I just want to keep pouring more out. And so it has to be that, right?
Absolutely. Why painting? What do you get from paint?
I think it's the tactile, the movement of the brush and the form. You know, you can, with my work, you can be, I sometimes paint on panel, sometimes on canvas, but you know, you can really get involved. You can push, you can pull, you can scratch and move the paint, and it's tactile, it's versatile, and you can lose yourself in it, you know. Sometimes you need the music, sometimes you don't need the music, sometimes it's like, no, turn it all off and let's just stay right here, right with this in the moment. So I guess it's a very basic need to paint. You know, a lot of us feel that, and people will move on from that into other media, but for me it's sort of the original, and it's how we can change that and express that.
Yeah, that's all right. That's interesting. So well, and it can be kind of like I write a lot, so, and I love it, you know, and I've been doing it. I've written scripts for years, and sometimes when I do it, it's kind of therapy for me, and a little bit about my life. So, and I like it, you know what I mean? And I'm assuming actually the painting can help that way also, or it can be.
Yeah, for sure. I think it is a little bit of therapy, I guess, but it's also recounting your feelings. So different things well up at different times. And so sometimes you can get I can get quite emotional just, you know, in the studio on my own, because, you know, whatever's happening in your world is actually coming out onto the canvas, especially with abstract work. You know, it's surfacing. So yeah, it's an experience, or it's a feeling, or it's an emotion, and it's surfacing as you are pouring that out. So it's a beautiful thing. It can be therapy, for sure.
As far as I know, you're a self-taught painter, as you mentioned actually earlier. I talked to lots of painters around the world, you know, from England, from Africa, from America, from Australia, from Iran, from India. So I noticed the difference that sometimes academic education is not useful to creative talent, to develop talent, to help to grow talent. And you are a great example of a painter, and your amazing work drew my attention. That's why I'm talking to you today on my show. So what do you think about just what I've said?
Oh, look, I mean, everything has its place. I think formal education can take you so far, but there's plenty of people that will go to art school and not become a painter. You know, they might go into art history or something else. But, you know, if you are willing to, and it is hard work. I think it was Chuck Close, he said, inspiration's for amateurs. You know, the rest of us have to just get in there and do it, kind of thing. And that's kind of it. You've got to turn up. You've got to just keep going. And you've got to keep putting in the hours and the time. And you take a few hits along the way, you know. Sometimes you doubt your work. And there is a little bit of that, I think. If you haven't been to art school, you can doubt yourself and say, well, okay, I'm not qualified here. But then what is a qualification to paint? I mean, we're all super happy when our little kids come home with a new painting. You know, it's expression.
Absolutely. No, that's absolutely right. So, I want to know about your impression of the painting in the future, and the reason that, like, what do you think might happen to the painting field or industry? The reason that I'm asking you this question is, I've noticed the traditional way is slowly fading away, and a new generation actually started using different devices to create their art, which is much faster, and the result is also sometimes much better. What do you think? What is your impression? Tell me.
Yeah, I do think that that's going to start. It already has. It's started to happen a lot more, and I question that as well. I'm always looking for maybe the new ways of painting or new ways of doing things. So for me, it only really goes as far as playing with media or substrates, or, you know, painting on aluminium or perspex, or, you know, things like that. But I don't know if I'm ready to make a jump myself, but I can see how, you know, with technology, it's going to change. Now, it may be for the better, it may not, I don't know. But it's all art as long as it has something special about it, you know.
Good point.
I mean, speed would be a little bit nicer. Sometimes it takes a really long time, so if you could do something faster, that would be great. Yeah. But, you know, I think for me right now, I'm happy. I mean, I'm a bit of a romantic. I believe in the tradition of it all as well. Like I said before, you know, the tactile, the movement of the paint, the mixing of the paint, the color, the application. You know, there is a lot of skill and technique involved, but it's also, you know, there's almost like a rhythm to that. Absolutely. And if you find your rhythm, then stay with it, you know, until maybe something takes your fancy and you want to change it up.
Yeah.
Give it something new.
All right. I'm going to give you a break. I mean, I'm going to give myself a break. So I'm going to ask you a favor, and you know that. So I love this part. Yeah. So I want you get up, like, grab your phone or camera or whatever, and please give us a tour. And please make it as long as possible, and let's enjoy watching them. And don't go. And show us around, and if there's any project that you're working on right now, whatever, and just do it, please. Thank you.
All right. Okay, I'm going to turn you around and just pick you up. Yeah. So I actually don't have that much work at the moment in the studio, but this is on the easel right now. So this is I'm actually reworking this piece. I just did a show, and I painted a horse, which I don't usually paint. I usually include one reference piece in a show, and that was a horse. And I painted it first of all in a grisaille, like in black and white, and then that just got me inspired again to get back into some monochromatic colors. With this, you can probably see, we get up close, there's some really nice burnt umbers in there. More than, it looks black and white from a distance, but the colors, those burnt umbers and those colors there. So like I said before, just get really raw on, this is on wood. So you can get in there, I'll use squeegees and paint knives and just get a little bit raw with it as well. And really give it sort of a movement and start to really make it raw, I guess. So I think it's got a bit more to go, this one.
That is amazing. I do really love this one. I haven't seen, have you, is there any photograph of that work on Instagram?
No. Not yet.
That is amazing. That is amazing work. Amazing.
So yeah, fairly big. That's 1,300 or 1.3 meters by 1.1 meters. Oh. So yeah, it's a nice size panel. And I'm looking at painting bigger. I'd love to go bigger and bigger, I think. The studio I've got at the moment is pretty good, but it would be nice to have a little bit more space when you're painting really big. So this, I'll give you another one here. This is a piece that was in a show. This one is titled The Story of Water. And so what we were talking about before with that movement, I'll give you a bit of a close-up. It's kind of almost like a biro blue color. But you can see the movement in the paint. It's very fluid. And yeah, it's just, you know, that sort of movement, that wave-like form, the ocean, or, you know, water running over rocks. That's kind of, I guess, that feeling that it comes from. But yeah, that's 1.5 meters by 1.1.
It's amazing. I love this one.
Thank you, Borna.
I love the color. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, the color in here, I don't know how, but there's a slight sort of mauve purple in there. I don't know if you can pick that up on there. But yeah, that's. And then I've just got some new canvases actually, and I've got my rack here. This one here is going to be 1.8 by 1.2. That's actually a commission, and another one there. And then we've got another piece here.
Oh, so wow. Color. It's what is that one?
It's called The Journey. It's just over 1 meter square. Yeah, we've got a little bit of yellow light here, so I don't know. I'll give you a close up again. But again, you can see that the movement in the paint is raw. It's all about, even if it's not fluid and it's not wave-like, it will be pretty raw, and I'll keep moving and manipulating the paint. It looks as though it's thick and impasto in places, but it's actually not. It's just, you know, really work the paint continuously and kept it moving.
What's the story behind this paint? Tell me.
So this one here, you can see it's got a very strong landscape sort of feel. That horizon line is very strong, and it's almost like a sort of water running over rocks in a sort of stream, like, or water in a lake, I guess. But it's called The Journey because it's not just about that sort of landscape. It's more about the journey that you go on to find that, I guess, rather than just a typical traditional landscape. So I want to leave it ambiguous. I want to make it so that the viewer can create their own, decision on what it means. I think with all of the paintings that I make, I need the viewer to be part of the process. I need them to make up their mind about it, and that's where ambiguity is really important. You know, you want them to come and feel something. So often people say, "Oh, I can see something in this," or "This looks like a cloud," or "This looks like a dog," or people will get their thinking brain involved. But what I'll try and say to people most of the time is just, if you can stand in front of a piece just for 30 seconds and just feel, just stand there and feel, and ask yourself, how does it make you feel? And it's fine, whatever you're feeling. If it's confronting or if it's challenging, that's fine, but just to stand there and feel the emotion. I think they kind of are emotional landscapes. They've got a landscape feel, but they have a story that maybe is my story, but then the viewer can stand there and find whatever they're looking for in that. Really, that's the purpose of them. So yeah, we've got that one there, and that's actually the only three I've got here. But I'll give you a quick view of the studio. I've got lots of stuff up there and a few bits and pieces. But it's nice. I've got a little bit of a higher ceiling, which gives you some space, which is good.
Amazing.
Yeah. And then just down here. And I just did this the other day. So this is just for a bit of fun. That's my daughter. Just when I want to have a break, I did that. That's an hour quick sketch of an oil painting. So just a quick one, and some palettes there, a few bits and pieces, and that's it. We've got everything else over here. There we go. So yeah, not a bad space. I don't have heaps of work, like I said before, because I just finished the show, and that was 12 pieces that went to the studio, to the show, maybe a month or so ago, and that was on basically the whole of June.
That was more than enough. That was more than enough. Thank you so much. And people are just keep singing.
Just turn it around.
I haven't finished my question yet. Wait.
Okay. I'm not gone.
Not you. People keep sending the messages. Well, you mentioned that, if you're really lucky if people stand in front of your paintings just for 30 seconds. I can stand in front of your painting for 30 hours. Are so cool. And that was the reason, actually, I wanted to have a conversation with you here, because as I mentioned in my first question, when I'm looking at your paintings, actually, the sense of feeling that I get from them is quite peaceful and relaxing, very relaxing. It makes me feel really relaxed. And that was exactly the same impression when I got on your profile the first time. And when I started looking at it, oh my God.
Well, that's good. That's good. I'm very happy there.
You're welcome. So many painters say they don't like when people ask them about their style. Why is that? And are you one of those painters who doesn't like to hear this question? What is your style? What is your style? What do you do? Or no, you don't care, or you say, well, my style is this or that. Because I didn't know that it can be quite offensive, you know, and people like painters don't like that. So I was working with lots of painters, as you've noticed. So and they like this question. What's your impression? What do you think?
I personally, I have no problem that you know. To be honest, you can tell me what you think my style is. You know, it's up to you as well. You know, it's not just me. I know my style essentially is abstract expressionism, I guess, but it's slightly different from that as well. Is that it does have some kind of reference. It's not just purely abstract in just giving over to anything. It does have a hint or a vague reference. And, you know, I kind of want that to be there. So it's sort of, you ask people to go, oh, is that this or is it that? You know, it's vague enough that they can make up their mind, but it also has a sort of purpose or a point. And I think, you know, well, for me, I can't get precious about it. If someone asks me, what's your style? I mean, it doesn't matter really.
Yeah, well, I understand why they get offended, but probably I can understand other hand, like they don't want to be categorized. You know what I mean? And that's probably the only reason, or this is not a correct question. I don't know, but if I see if I see your work and say, well, all right, you are interested like in this sort of painting, and rather just ask like, what is your style? Tell me, but that's good. You don't have that's good to hear that actually you don't have any problem with that. And why don't you have any problem with that?
I'll figure that out.
I'm just teasing you. So you've traveled a lot. So you moved to Australia and then you moved to New Zealand, where you live right now, where you work. Why New Zealand? Because England. You're originally from England, am I right? You were living in
yeah, originally, yeah.
But where you live here, am I right? You grew up in London or not?
Yeah, when I was young, just outside London, yeah.
Okay, so because England is one of those countries where art is extremely popular, in particular for painters. And why did you move to Australia? And then why move to New Zealand?
Okay, so, well, I mean, I was traveling a lot at the time, and I was able to see a lot of the world. And I knew that for me, I didn't really want to be in England, mainly because of the possibility. I'm very much a person that lives outdoors. I want to be out in the bush. I want to be walking, hiking, adventuring. So as much as I love London and I had a lot of fun there, but I wanted to get out and I wanted to be able to see the world. And I think Australia and New Zealand are probably two of the most amazing places in the world for that. You know, they're very beautiful, both countries. And they have this outdoor life, which is just, it's so important to me. And so I think that's where I find my inspiration. So it wasn't necessarily about being in the right place. Maybe London is the best place or the right place for studying or for art. It's more about the inspiration. And the inspiration comes for me from the land. It comes from the ocean. So that's why the move. And why I ended up in New Zealand is because my wife is from New Zealand. We actually met in Australia, but we worked on yachts as well together for nearly 4 or 5 years. So we was in big super yachts in the Mediterranean, all over the world actually. And so then when we sort of finished, we were like, okay, well, what do we do? And so we went back to New Zealand.
Wow, that's amazing. I've never been in New Zealand, but where about in New Zealand are you?
We're in Auckland. So kind of where most people live, really. Half the population, basically.
But okay. Now, I've never been in New Zealand before, but I will definitely. I've spoken with lots of people from New Zealand. Actually, I'm not sure.
You have to come and see us.
Huh?
You'll have to come and see us.
I will definitely, I will. If, well, we got back on the quarantine again, lockdown actually.
Yeah.
Last night because the corona situation in Melbourne or Victoria is getting really, really worse. And they closed the borders and we can't travel. So I don't know. I love to travel. So, and in particular, I definitely want to come to New Zealand. I'm going to the questions. Give me a sec, but I have to wrap it up very quickly. All right.
No problem.
Oh, there are lots of questions. So I'm just... All right. Somebody asked, how long does each painting usually take?
That's a good question. That's a good question. Some can take a really long time. I find myself I know it's not finished, so maybe I'll need to park it and move on. And I'll definitely have multiple pieces going, especially if I'm doing thick layers. They'll need time. I often use polymers and open mediums so that it will stay longer. It's not oil, so it's not as long as oils, but sometimes it's a few days before it will dry. So I'll move on to the next piece. But it depends. Some things can happen very quickly and you can almost have it done in a couple of days. And then other times it feels like it takes a little bit longer and you just keep parking it. It's like you keep seeing it out the corner of your eye. You say, oh, it's just not right yet. So that can be weeks.
Are you one of those artists who can work on different projects or painting at the same time, or no, you prefer just get one completed and then move on to something else?
No, I can definitely work on a few at the same time. Yeah.
Wow, that's...
Yeah. And what I've got actually here is 2 easels. So I didn't know if I showed you that, but I've got 2 easels. So if I'm working on something small, I'll usually go onto this one here. And if I'm working on something big, I've got a bit more length to look down the studio at the piece. So all the big work will be at this end and all the smaller work will be here. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I can work on multiple pieces. I think in some ways it's best, especially if you're working a certain palette in the show. Like for the show, I did a certain palette in 2 or 3 pieces. So you're working with that momentum and that movement through the palette as well, not just through the piece. So it's good to do them in batches almost.
Okay, that was my own question also. And now I have my last question. You have practiced exhibition recently. So yeah. Tell me about the results, and we were talking about it yesterday, but I'd be interested for audience or watching now and later. So tell me about the experiences, or tell me about the feedback. How did it go?
Feedback was great, actually. Yeah, really good. A lot of we were very fortunate to have it because we were under lockdown as well. So I think I was one of the first exhibitions where we could have an opening for maybe 3 months. So yeah, it was perfect timing, and I was very happy. We could have, there was 100 people in it, and we could have as many people as we wanted, and that was fantastic. So yeah, we sold quite a few. It wasn't a sellout, but the gallery holds them for 6 months. So the ones that haven't sold will hopefully sell. And it was really good. It was quite a lot of love, actually. A lot of people were saying it's one of my better shows. It was really beautiful. And I think this show was called Harmony and Contrast.
Okay.
And yeah, so again, that harmony theme, but with contrast. So, I know you say my work can be very peaceful, but I kind of want it to have a little bit of a challenge to it as well. I mean, when we think about the ocean, there is something fierce about it and, confronting. And I think with the work, I wanted to get that movement and that strength. And I did that basically through color. So I wanted these opposing colors. So I had some in there that were like deep umbers and burnt oranges with sort of teals and blues. So they were opposing colors, but, really worked well together to get that harmony and contrast feel. And that, yeah, it was pretty exciting. And I think that I used the color really well, and there was quite a lot of it. But now I'm kind of going back to a bit monochromatic. So you always do one thing and you let that settle, and then you move on again to the next thing. So
absolutely. Well, I'm so glad I've heard that you got very good feedback, and also it was quite successful. Team Jones, it was so lovely talking to you. Thank you so much, actually, for this lovely conversation. I really, really appreciate that. And did you like our conversation, actually?
Yeah, I did, Borna. Thank you, mate. It's I spoke to you briefly yesterday, but yeah, it's great to talk to you. I just want to acknowledge you for all your, your effort when you're doing this. It's really amazing what you're doing, and you've got this amazing personality. Your energy is fantastic. So, it's always great to see. So yeah, thank you for having me on your show, and much love to everybody out there. Stay safe. And I hope to catch you soon.
Definitely. I hope to see you one day and your family in the reality. So, and hopefully here in Australia or somewhere in New Zealand, somewhere else. If you need any help for advertising or anything, I'm more than happy to do it for you and my story. And just let me know, and I'm more than happy to post it for you.
Thank you, Borna. I'll be in touch, and maybe we'll see you in Australia one day.
Sure. You will. I have to wrap it up. Thank you so much.
Good man. Cheers, mate.
Bye. Thank you so very much. I had a conversation with Tim Jones, amazing painter. If you want to find out more about Tim, actually, you can go to his page on Instagram and find out actually who I'm spoken with. Thank you for your support. Thank you. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to go to your questions as often. I don't get a chance. Take care. Love you. Be well. Bye.